We had a slogan, I don't know, I'd say back in the day. I think that's fine. It was the hashtag the softening. Instead of the hardening, it was the softening.
Yes.
And it could be related to a variety of different things going on in America, across the world, in sports, whatever. And you have yet another example you bring to the table today?
Well, look, I know my limitations, right? Physically, mentally, whatever it may be, spiritually, emotionally, sexually. There's ads I'm sure that will run that will help you with some of those things. I like to think of myself as self-aware, okay? So I'm not coming on here today to act like Billy Badass and say that I'm going to walk up to Jeffery Simmons of the Tennessee Titans and call him the P word to his face or call him soft to his face. I'm likely not, much like everyone else. But unlike all the losers in their basement on Twitter that claim they would do something like this, I'm willing to admit to you, of course I wouldn't do that. I like my face where it is right now. Whether it be handsome or not, don't care. I don't want it rearranged by a 6'6", 300-pound defensive tackle in the NFL. A 6'6", 300-pound defensive tackle with a gigantic temper issue. And it goes back to high school. Google it. You can find it. You can find a reason that he slipped in the draft. It's not just because of a knee injury. You can find a reason that Mississippi State took a lot of heat for honoring a scholarship offer to him. You can Google these things and find it. The man has a temper problem, okay? And we're going to play some audio for you and video. And Hutton, I don't know if you want me to tee off on it right now or in a little bit.
Let's set it up.
But I will say that we are seeing evidence of the Tennessee Titans, the team right here in our hometown, being the softest team in the NFL across the league in every market, because this is not a difficult market to navigate. Yet they act like they are the biggest soccer club in all of London and that all eyes are on them at all times and the tabloids are all over them. They're not.
Well, this stems Jeffery Simmons, star defensive tackle, and the ordained leader of the Tennessee Titans by both coach and general manager, went after local radio host and A to Z sports host Buck Rising, who tweeted in real time at yesterday's practice, on Tuesday's practice, that in the first day of pads, Simmons in back-to-back snaps got into a fight, got into a scrap, and then there was like a melee that broke out. And Buck tweeted out in real time, you got to get together. You got to act like a leader. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the tweet.
I'll find the exact tweet that he said.
But that then
was... Is this the tweet that he was reacting to?
Yes.
So he saw it before practice was over?
No, someone, I believe his mom or someone took a screenshot of this and texted it to him. So he went into the locker room, saw this tweet or this post on X, and then came back out while Buck is hosting a live show, and Jeffery Simmons called him a pussy.
Well, Jeff, you want to sit down? We can talk whenever you want to talk. Jeff, we'll deal with that later. Roger McCreary sitting down with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Jeff, we're on the air right now. I'm right here, Jeff. We can talk anytime you want to. Unbelievable.
We got to make that happen.
Well, we'll deal with that later on. Roger McCreary sitting down with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Jeff, if you want to sit down and talk about this, we can talk about this.
I'm telling you, stop talking on social media. Talk to me.
I'm talking to you right here. Jeff, we tried to talk to you last week. I'm being rude to Roger. We'll deal with you later. Roger, what's going on?
It's good. Doing good out here. I'm doing good.
So there's Roger McCreary, who has also been on the show. He's got beans or something back here, doesn't he?
Our good friend Kirby Allen Kirby, by the way, shockingly keeping his mouth shut. I was amazed at his cameo in this video that he stood there, looked down, did not say a word, because the Kirby I know would have turned around and told Jeff Simmons to shove off and do something else. No solo yet. Hutton, please.
Chad.
I'll call for the solo when it's time, boys. Don't you worry. By the way, the tweet from Buck Rising is Simmons just swung at J.C. Latham after some pushing and shoving. Ref said 98 would have been tossed in a game. He's back in for the next 2 and immediately starts a brawl. Sloppy. Simmons needs to lock TF in. We all know what TF stands for.
Yes.
That's all that Buck said, which is a factual statement if you're getting into multiple fights in training camp after the ref, by the way, in the first one says he would have been tossed from a game for swinging.
Yeah, and he was not kicked out of practice, which is surprising to
just soft
many.
of the head coach.
Didn't kick him out of practice. Simmons, not soft today. He came back a day later and spoke with Buck for 10 minutes prior to practice beginning earlier this morning, and then had this to say to the media on a day where he didn't have to speak.
I guess obviously a eventful day yesterday. You wanted
Well,
to
before y'all get started, we all know what happened yesterday. A lot of y'all have been here since I've been here. So y'all know me. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be seen as. I talked to Buck. We have an understanding. I have an understanding where we're coming from. I have an understanding where he's coming from. He have a job. I have a job. At the end of the day, I take full accountability of my actions on the field. I mean, that'll never happen again with me. Like I said, I always talk about that switch, when to turn it on, when to turn it off. I was kind of still had it on coming off the field, of course, with the way practice went. But that, like I said, that's not me. It'll never happen again. And to all you guys, like I said, I apologize. And not because it's hit social media, but it's because who I am. That's not my character. And I think from here on out, like I said, from that point, like I said, I spoke on about it. I'm ready to move forward. Any football questions, I'm here to answer.
Jeff,
One
is that part
question
of being
on
a leader
social media.
too, Jeffrey? That setting an example for others, is that where that's coming from also?
Most definitely. We talked about everyone know I'm a leader on the team, and I don't want none of my teammates saying that. And like I said, that's not who I am. You know, I look at myself first, because being a leader, you have to point the finger to yourself first. And like I said, me and Buck talk. We have an understanding, and like I said, I told him where I was coming from. He told me where he was coming from. Like I said, we're ready to move on.
You seem very angry with us in general lately. What's the root of that, and what can we do?
I just said, that's not me. We're gonna move forward from that. I'm ready to focus on football. I just want to win. Like I said, I'm not with all the social media stuff. I got a text message even from PR later, just even delete social media while I'm in camp, because like I said, I don't want to get the text message. Told my family, don't send it to me no more, none of that. But like I said, I'm not angry at you guys. I don't have nothing against you guys. You guys have a job, I have a job. We know you guys gonna critique us. I mean, we're not gonna like it. And like I told earlier, like, we also have a right to speak our opinion as well, just like you guys. So I'm not angry with no one. Like I said, some of the stuff I just don't like with some of the stuff be said. That's my opinion. So, like I said, I'm just ready to move on from that. Like I said, yesterday is unacceptable, and we came back to practice today. I had a great day.
In general, do you need to get, I guess, pay less attention to social media moving
Just
forward?
focus on football.
Focus on football. That's from Jeffery Simmons, who came back today and spoke with the media after speaking with Buck Rising, who, again, he called out while Buck was live on air. Look, we've seen the likes of Pac-Man Jones come through the doors of that practice facility. The fight in camp is not unprecedented. But
We once watched Vince Young karate kick a guy.
yeah, Donnie Nicky.
Donnie Nicky, yeah, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Donnie Nicky. He jumped and he crane technique in the air
was,
from Karate Kid.
yes.
Kicked a man in the chest.
Great style.
As the starting quarterback of the Titans. So
was-
we've seen it all at camp.
We've seen a lot. And Simmons has certainly been in his fair share of fights at training camp. But, Chad, to pay attention to social media immediately after entering the locker room with screenshots, apparently, from his own family sending it to him.
Hadn't even made it to the locker room yet, is my understanding.
And then turns around and goes back after. It has to get if someone pointed out where Buck was, and he went and did that. This after saying that he didn't want to speak to the media about whatever he's tweeting a couple of weeks ago, saying he was pissed off at the Nashville media. Man, it's I wish this was a one-off, but it's par for the course.
Absolutely. And this is where I take ultimate issue with all this. 2 quotes from here. That's not who I am, he said repeatedly. It is who you are. It is absolutely who you are. You are a guy, this is not your first scrape in training camp. You have been accused by multiple NFL players of spitting in their face during a game. Okay? One time, maybe Marshall Yanda was lying in the playoffs for the Baltimore Ravens. But when Bobby Hart comes back and says the same exact thing, going along with your complicated history, both in high school, in college, now in the NFL, I tend to believe the multiple people saying that you were spatting on them during the game. Okay? So you get in a fight at camp. Okay, boo-hoo, whatever, it's hot. These are grown men competitors. They get pissed off for greatness, and they fight occasionally. Okay? I'm willing to be okay with that. When you throw a punch at a helmet, I take issue with that as a highly paid, big-time investment for the Tennessee Titans. If I'm the team, then I'm mad about that because you're putting at risk breaking your own hand, injuring yourself. You're swinging at a first-round draft pick who's going to be heavily relied upon as the left tackle of your team also. Let's not hurt him or yourself. Pushing and shoving, getting into a scrape in practice happens amongst linemen all the time. Don't throw a punch. When there's an official there on site and they tell the coaching staff 98 would have been ejected in a game. By rule, he's ejected. And then you put him in 2 plays later. The coaching staff has failed. A new coaching staff that all I've heard about with Brian Callahan is how damn nice and open he is with his media access and everything. That's great. Seems like a really fun, good dude. Kick his ass out of practice. Send a message. Do it. That's what happens when you get into a fight, especially when you get into a second one right after that. Instead, he's allowed to go back in. Another fight happens. So that's not who I am, says Jeffery Simmons. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incidents I've talked about, 2 in the same day. Well, if that's not who you are, you get some water. You cool off a little bit. You walk towards the locker room. You go and talk to your teammate, J.C. Latham. You do whatever you need to decompress. Instead, he goes and sees a tweet from Buck Rising, local radio host and guy who covers the Titans. And what Buck Rising said is absolutely true. What is Jeffery Simmons' response? I'm going to go call this guy a pussy in front of children and everyone else multiple times and try to provoke a fight with him. Kudos to Buck for standing his ground and saying, I'll talk to you whenever you want, but I'm interviewing a teammate right now. Whenever you want to talk to me, we can talk. I thought Buck handled himself very well. And for all the people on Twitter that are coming to me, hey, this is just a man who had a disagreement and he took it up with another man. That's not how you do it. You don't go scream into someone's microphone while they're hosting a show promoting your team and your product for a flagship station of that team that all they do is glad hand and sing kumbaya about the Titans even when they suck. And you know when they've sucked? The last 2 years. They're a combined 13-21, which gets me to the next quote I want to point out from Jeff Simmons. Quote, just want to win. Well, do it. Do it and then talk your shit if you want. That's when you do it, not during training camp when your defense sucked a year ago and you weren't at your best, and it was a part of a terrible defense that could not win games in the NFL. Not to the level that you expect. And I know Jeffery Simmons is a diehard competitor. I know he'll fight anyone. Hell, he'd probably fight me if he saw me saying this right now, and I probably owed a lot of money if he did fight me because I would lose that fight big time. But I'm self-aware enough to admit that. Of course he'd kick my ass. Of course. He'd kick Hutton's ass. He'd probably kick everyone's ass in the studio simultaneously if we all tried to fight him. Doesn't mean that he can't also be self-aware. And when you say that's not who I am, no, it is who you are. It's on tape. It was in practice yesterday. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. So clean it up. If you truly are a leader on this team, then I am going to deduct 2 wins from the Titans' win total this next year because they're not going anywhere. Not with this soft-ass mentality of getting your feathers ruffled over a tweet that's not even that hardcore, over your coach in a side remark saying, boy, everybody's around here is awfully negative. No, they're not. It's Nashville, Tennessee. This is not a negative media market in the NFL. Give me a break. The Tennessee Titans, who I root for, I can say that. I'm a Nashvilleian. I hope they do well. I'm disgusted right now with the whole thing. They're soft as Charmin, and they're not winning much this year. They better hope Will Levis is the real deal, or they're going down in a hurry.
I don't know if they're going to win much to begin with, given what I saw today at right tackle, which they desperately need their current starter to come back off of injury because it's awful. Chad,
well, hopefully Jeffery Simmons doesn't injure the current right tackle in a fight at any point in the training camp.
he won't have to. He just runs
Maybe
right
the
by
next
him.
guy he fights.
Just bull rushes him over. Look, Simmons last year played on one leg for about half the year. Then he went to IR, missed the final 5 games of the season. And this is coming off the year where he got paid. He's motivated, but it's not like you remove Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and Danico Autry and Kevin Byard and others off this roster, and they just anoint one of the, fiery, angry players as the leader of the locker room because they want him to be, not just in the defensive line, not just on defense, but across the entire team. And, yeah, I'd say that's not the way to go about it. If you're leaving the practice after you weren't kicked out for causing this fight, apparently took his helmet off too, and goes over and does that to a radio host who wasn't wrong. And there's no doubt that it stems further back than that, Chad, where he's keeping receipts and it boiled over. Where a family member sent him a screenshot of something that on that particular day he was so pissed off and angry that he took it out live on air. And you have to have better restraint than that and more common sense than that.
Keep receipts by all means. Like that's
I know.
That's part of sport. I get it. I'm competitive too. I would keep receipts. But if you take something like that, which by the way was not that bad, what Buck tweeted, but if you want to take something like that and internalize it and use it as fuel, and then come back, 10 weeks from now, if the Titans are off to a better start than anyone thought, and Jeffery Simmons is healthy, and he's dominating offensive lines, and he's getting in the backfield and causing havoc, and someone asks you a question that reminds you of it, then take your shot if you want to, after some success on the field. But you got to realize where you are. You're a 13-21 football team over the last 2 years. With you as the leader of this team, essentially, you're 13-21. Those are the numbers. Now, you can blame that on a number of factors. Transitioning quarterbacks, lack of offensive line play, which has nothing to do with you, lack of a pass rush, which could have something to do with you. There's a lot of things you can point to with this Titans team. But the bottom line is you're one of the leaders. So if, and I quote, you just want to win, wait till you win and then talk your trash if you're going to do it. I think if you're allowing yourself to get this worked up over what the local media says, a local media that's very easy on you for the most part, I think that's a problem. And I think the dude is a great player.
Yeah.
And he gets paid like he's a great player. He's got to figure this stuff out. And I'm sorry if I'm not going to sit here and go and, give a big warm and fuzzy to the guy because he was told to go apologize and he did. I don't think there was an apology to Buck Rising either. They talked for 10 minutes and then, it's in Buck's best interest to bury it.
He apologized. And it's my understanding that it was tough to get in touch with the guy up until like 30 minutes before practice when he then walked out and spoke with Buck on his own. I'll also say, like, the whole fight and the brawls, and we see it's commonplace. It's football. Defensive tackles going up against offensive linemen, especially rookies, especially guys who are as large of human beings as Jeffery Simmons and J.C. Latham. Those things are going to happen, but you have to. There's a time and a place, and there's no time or place for what took place after practice yesterday. I thought today he acted like a leader, but it came after a 24-hour period where it was the hothead Jeffery Simmons instead of the leader of the locker room Jeffery Simmons, leader of the Titans Jeffery Simmons. And that's not good news for the Titans, who are trying to go from where the Texans were to where the Texans are and be a year ahead. First and foremost, stay healthy. By the way.
Also, show me. That's fine that he apologized, but when he says over and over, that's not who I am. No, it is.